Yeah, so I do apologize for the technical difficulties. I do apologize for all the technical difficulties that were happening just now. I'm not even entirely sure what it is that just happened, to be completely honest with you, but I'm gonna see. Hold on, give me a second.
I'm gonna see. Hold on,
All
give me a
right.
second.
Okay, cool, cool, cool. All right, cool. So the volume's up, the volume's on and popping right now. All right, cool. Good. Perfection. All right. Let me get that phone charged because we don't want to lose charge. But yeah, so I do apologize for the technical difficulties that we just had. Hold on, give me 1 second. Let me make sure I prepare some stuff. Yes, 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 yes. Do forgive me for what it is that just transpired. I just had some technical difficulties. I'm not even entirely sure how that happened. But like I guess because I switched between this and I had FaceTime open and I switched between the AirPods and the microphone and there was just a lot going on. I can't really pinpoint what it is that just happened. But thank you guys so much for tapping back in again. I actually do want to get started regardless of whether or not people are coming right back immediately or not, because we have some really important topics to really talk about tonight. Like these things are very important. And the thing is with our culture, right? The thing is with us and our culture right now is that it's almost as if we provide a safe haven for a lot of degenerate behavior, and a lot of things we don't hold accountable the way that we should. You understand what I'm saying? And um I feel like we can only blame ourselves for that, because we it's like when a lot of these things happen, we don't hold people accountable as much as we should do, and we tend to kind of turn, what I mean, like turn a blind eye or look beyond what it is, what I mean, like certain things that are happening and everything like that. But when it's all said and done, nobody's perfect. It's not about being perfect. You understand what I'm saying? It's not about being perfect. Sometimes in some cases when people do some very some bad things, sometimes in some cases, depending on what it is that that person has done, because obviously people got the consequences, like the seeds that you plant, you're going to reap what it is that you sow. But in some cases, like, you're able to somewhat see the human in someone, right? Once they're able to admit that what it is that they did was something that, it caused pain or it caused harm to somebody else, right? Like you could see, it's like people who have that, who still have that humanity in them, who still have that empathy in them, you could kind of share a similar vibe with them, right? If they come down to earth and they're like, damn, you know what? Yeah, I was bugging. I did mess up big time, this, that, and the third, right? Now, depending on who you are, some people ain't never gonna get caught up in certain things like this, right? Some people ain't never gonna get caught up in a lot of these cases, a lot of these things that are happening with some of people's favorite celebrities, right? But being how I've kind of always sort of been in life, and being somebody that was 7 years old in church asking the pastor, like, hey, where does God come from? And just kind of really paying attention to people's actions, right? And what it is that they say, and seeing the difference between the things that people say and what people do, right? So you got a host of different people. They'll talk a good one, right? They'll say a whole bunch of stuff that sound good, but in actuality, are they really expressing who they are, or are they expressing a part of themselves that they believe that you want them to be, or are they trying to appeal to something within you? Are they doing it because they want something in return? Are they doing it because they want some sort of validation? Like, what exactly is it that they're doing? And a lot of times you are able to identify when a lot of things that people do are just strictly ego based, right? And some people, especially the ones that lack self control, they tend to not be able to help themselves. right? When people lack self-control, because they lack self-control, it seems as if they can't really help themselves. And that doesn't make it excusable, right? So it's something where it's like, all right, cool. I see that I can identify that you can't necessarily help yourself, but maybe some reinforcement or maybe some consequences to your actions will sort of sway what it is that you're doing, whether it be some self-destructive behavior or whether it be behavior that's destructive to the people that's around you, which is even worse. So the other day, I think a lot of people kind of already know what's been happening with the whole academic situation. I don't think I think it's so disgusting. Like basically the things that he's saying to this child, and from you hearing the tone of the voice of the child, like I mean, this is obviously a kid, bro. Like, what exactly is that you're doing here? And it is something that's. It seemed as if it was, of course, the kid was trying to save face in some ways, not trying to seem like he was some punk. But at the same time, it's one of those things where it's like it's like you tell your kids not to yield to peer pressure, right? And while they're not peer in age, they are in the same sort of discord. You understand what I'm saying? So when it's all said and done, even though these people are some twice their age, twice this kid's age, right? They're in the same discord, in which, of course, question marks should already have been at. Like, what exactly is this kid doing hanging around you guys in this discord? That doesn't make any sense. You guys are all adults, right? And as adults, if you're going to have some sort of kid around, it it's like the content can't be the same. The conversations can't be the same, right? Regardless of who it is and regardless of where it is that you are, you have to be mindful of what it is that's happening around you, right? Especially when you get to the point where you are a public figure. Especially when you get to the point where you're a public figure. There's no way, shape, or form anyone could sit up here and tell me that this person doesn't realize exactly what it is that he's built up to this point. You can't sit up here and tell me that this person does not realize that he's built a brand and that, conversations that you're having, there's a strong possibility that these conversations are going to get out there. And it's a good thing that it got out there. It's a really good thing that it got out there. Because here's the thing. The certain people that we tell our kids to stay away from when they're online. Certain people, there's certain behavior traits, right? That you automatically see that these things are red flags. Now, because the kid is 15, of course, the parents might give them a little more leeway than they would give somebody that's 10. And they would give somebody that's 6, 7, right? So because they got a little bit more leeway, they start to kind of venture out and see, you know what I mean? Not necessarily because I don't know how things are in Indonesia, but a lot of times in America, especially in inner cities, kids tend to grow up fast in certain ways. And there's a lot of sort of things that kids should not be exposed to, right? That other kids are kind of showing them or whatever it is. Depending on whatever this kid's background is, the conversation that was being had between this young man and DJ Academics is a conversation that should never be had between, especially to an adult that's not in like a parent. Like you don't get to have that sort of conversation with my kid. You don't get to have that sort of conversation with somebody that I care about. You don't get to do that. You understand what I'm saying? Whether it be in a public forum, whether it be in a private setting, whether it be in any way, shape, or form, you don't get to do that. So it's a good thing that this was actually caught in 4K or whatever it is. I don't know if it was 4K or whatever, but this is something that actually happened. This was some sort of chat room or whatever it is. I believe it was some sort of Discord. But good, it happened, and we all got to hear precisely the conversations that are happening with kids, right, behind the scenes. Because had this been something where it was two adults having this sort of conversation, it still would be one of those things where it's like, man, that's weird. That is a weird conversation. But a lot of times with these streamers, they do tend to get off into some really weird conversations, right? I've heard some of these guys have some very, very weird conversations, but you're adults having these weird conversations with one another. When you get off into the realm and you're talking to other people's kids, right? It's not that the lines are blurred. It's no blurred lines, right? As a matter of fact, the line isn't bold. It's bold, right? It's bold. A double stack, bold, big and bold. There's just certain lines that you just don't cross. And you would expect, and this is the thing with our expectations, because a lot of times we do have expectations, right? When it comes to people that we consider to be adults as well, right? We have certain expectations. These are our expectations, right? But don't be blinded by your expectations. This is why I say don't put any of these people on a pedestal, because we tend to see the best in them. And sometimes we tend to look beyond some of their personal flaws, in which everyone has flaws. Some flaws are more extreme than others. Some people who are aware of their flaws are able to work on their flaws, are able to fix those flaws, right? I sat here last night. Last night I sat here and we did a stream. We all did a stream together. We sat here. We listened to what it is that he had to say, because as bad, as disgusting as this behavior is, it's like, all right, cool. Well, let's give him an opportunity to explain himself, because there wasn't an act. He's not being accused of actually doing something, right? But we heard a conversation. Now, as as bad as this conversation, as disgusting as this conversation was, right? What's the backstory? What exactly is happening? Like, what's happening here? Sort of break it down to us. But even when you're breaking it down to us, we want to see a level of accountability, right? And this is something that you owe to your audience. You owe this to the people that are investing in you, that the people that are investing in your brand. Stop thinking to yourself that because you build a brand and you're your own person, in which that's great, that's phenomenal. You are your own person, that you don't owe something in return to the people that are supporting you, right? So, what exactly do you do in that situation? When we give you our ear, what is it that you're saying? Right? Now, again, and I've said this in the past, I haven't said this tonight, but this isn't somebody that I listen to on a regular basis. This is somebody who I have listened to in the past. But it's not something where I'm religiously listening to this person, because, again, it's just certain character traits that I see in this individual that it's very difficult to really fake these character traits, because you're live so often and people get to really see the real you. So it's like, all right, cool. There's a pattern here. There's certain things that you can't fake it. You understand what I'm saying? But even then, there's still a degree of, even if I click it once or twice a year or every 6 months, right? There's still an element of, oh, maybe some sort of trust there, right? There's some reason why you listen to that. So maybe you have some sort of trust or some sort of expectation there, right? But that you're naive enough to look past some of the red flags and some of the things that you see, where it's like, oh, that's just them being them. When actually, at one point I did hear when he said something along the lines of, if she has a college ID, doesn't matter if she's 17 or whatever it is, that he's going to do what it is that he does, right? We're not going to get into that. But again, right? It's just feeling this sense of, I don't even want to just say it's entitlement, because it's even more than that. But just feeling like this level of invincibility, right? As if you could just do whatever it is that you want to do because you've built a brand and because you have a name. when you feel as if people won't hold you accountable or the same rules don't apply to you. And again, it's something where I'm not going to say necessarily myself or probably a lot of people that's listening to this right now, but the audience plays a part in enabling, that's the word I was looking for, in enabling the behavior. The audience plays a part in enabling the behavior, right? Because if you think back to the 90s, some of these things they would have been called out a long time ago. They really would have been called out a long time ago. Some of these things that these people are doing would have been something that career over, career done. Early 2000s, career done. It's over. Right? That would have been the consequences. You wouldn't have been getting back online doing this and doing that. No, that's it. It's a wrap. And this isn't me wanting to stop anybody from being able to feed their family, right? But it's one of those things where it's like this. At what point do we really start holding a lot of this degenerate behavior accountable? Now, it seems to be a more common occurrence, right? And some of these people, some of we get, for lack of a better term, we're going to say some of the players in the game, like, you know, people that I would say that I really listen to, right? Like that I'm a fan of, which would be somebody like a Jay-Z, right? And when I compare the two situations, it's slightly different. But of course, there are some similarities in the underage element, right? But here, on one case, we have evidence that's clear as day. There's no denying this evidence. This isn't one of those things where you see Elon Musk going across the stage, putting up his hand and doing what it is that we all know that he did, and people telling us that no, that's not what it is that we see. Nobody could tell me that this isn't what exactly happened, because this happened. We heard it. This isn't like a deep fake situation, because it was confirmed by the other people that were involved in the situation, including the person who was basically, let's say, the defendant, right? And it's not about speaking that into existence. It's just the fact that he's defending himself in a court of public opinion. So, situation happened, you know, with Jay-Z, and of course, I'm going to listen to the evidence, right? Because Jay-Z is one of those people, I listened to his music throughout the years. Jay-Z is one of those people, not to say put on a pedestal, right? Because I don't believe in putting anyone on a pedestal. But at the same time, you still hold in some regard because of his vivid depiction of events that happen in reality, and his experience, and how you could kind of learn something from his experience, right? And when I see this situation, it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy, what's happening with Jay-Z. And we've heard it a number of times throughout various different songs throughout the years, right? And unless you're somebody that really listens to his music and actually really listens to the words of his music, you won't really understand what it is that I'm saying, right? But a point of reference, right? We're gonna do a point of reference right now, and we're gonna look up some lyrics. Um, I kind of know the lyrics right off my head, right? Inspired by Basquiat's My Chariot's on Fire, everybody taking shots, build my body up, I'm tired, build me up and break me down, build me up again. They like, Hovey need you back so we can, you know what I mean? But we're gonna actually look it up. Most Kings, Jay-Z lyrics. Right? So we're gonna look up the Most Kings lyrics, and hold on, give me 1 second. Live stream. Hold on, let me end this, get rid of this one up here. All right, so hold on. You're not going to share that. We're going to share. All right. Are you guys seeing everything that's happening right here? All right, so we're going to look at the Most King's lyrics, right? And this is precisely what it is that I'm talking about when we're talking about deciphering something in art, somewhat imitating reality, right? So, right? So the song goes, right? Let's decipher these lyrics and kind of just look at how the parallels between these lyrics, and precisely what it is that's happening right now and what it is that we're seeing in plain sight, right? So, inspired by Basquiat, my chariot's on fire. Everybody took shots, hit my body up. I'm tired. Build me up, break me down, build me up again. They like, Hove, we need you back so we can, right? It's right there. But that's not really the part that I really want to um that's not really the part that I really want to dissect, right? There's another part to it that I really want to talk about, right? Oh, yeah. When he was saying media metal, people sue you, you settle. Hold on. I don't remember which part that is. Hove got a flow though. He's no big in pop. All right, you know what? Let's just go through the whole thing because then we could get it back because I haven't really heard this song in years, so I don't even know exactly where it is that we're looking. But listen to the lyrics of this song, and then we can kind of look at the parallels between this song and what's going on right now in Jay-Z's life, right? Inspired by Basquiat, my chariot's on fire. Everybody took shots, hit my body up. I'm tired. Build me up, break me down, build me up again. They like Hove, we need you back so we can again. Hove got a flow, though he's no big in pop, but he's close. How? I'm supposed to win. They got me fighting ghosts. Most kings get their heads with the same sword they knight you, they gon' good night you with. That's only half if they like you. That ain't even a half of what they might do. Don't believe me? Ask Michael. See Martin, see Malcolm. See Biggie, see Pac, see success and its outcome. See Jesus, see Judas. See Caesar, see Caesar, see Brutus, see success is like, we're not going to say that word. He succeed, prepare to be crucified. Media medals. This is the part I was talking about. Media medals. N words, sue you, you settle. Every step you take, they remind you, you ghetto. This is exactly what it is that we're talking about. People sue you, you settle, right? So people sue you, you settle. It's not an admission of guilt or denying guilt. It's just one of those things where it's like, all right, cool. This person brings up a case. All right, I don't necessarily know this person, or, I don't have the time to really sit here and fight this case because I have, think about it. Think about it. So you got to sit and fight this case for months, maybe years. You don't know when they're gonna come and call you to go for this case, right? You get to the point where you're like, man, I can't afford to do that because, right, I'm gonna be making $50 million over the next 3 months, right? I can't. All right, cool. You know what? Make this go away, right? Now you decide, all right, cool. I'm gonna put up the 100,000. So just go away. It's not an admission of guilt. It's just get this out of here. I don't have time for this. I got other things that I need to do. Right? So when I kind of sit and I listen to a lot of the things that did happen in regards to the Jay-Z situation, and this isn't the first time that he's spoken about these things, right? This is just one song, right? This is just one song. And let's finish since we already started, right? When you succeed, prepare to be, yeah. Okay, we got that part. And settle every step you take, they remind you ghetto. So it's tough being Bobby Brown. To be Bobby then, you got to be Bobby now. Now, the question is to have had and lost better than not having at all? Think about that. Is to have had and lost, right? Better than not having at all. So compare the two parallels, right? In which this relates a lot to what it is that's happening right now, right? Because think about academic situation, because I don't think this is the last we're going to hear of this. You understand what I'm saying? So to have had and lost, Think about so many people who've gotten into the position to have had everything that it is that they dreamed of. However they got it, I don't know. But everything that they've ever dreamed of, they got it. And then they end up losing it. Are they now back in square one? Do you now live your life as if you've never had it, but constantly being reminded that, yes, there was a point when you were, figuratively speaking, on top of the world, certainly from your perspective. And what did you do then? Did you deceive yourself, like Nas said, and let your ego swell and disregard those that most need your help? Right? I ain't trying to preach. I'm not up here trying to preach. This isn't anything that was premeditated. I mean, somewhat, because I figured, all right, let's talk about this song. Let's talk about these songs and let's look at the parallels between art and reality and how art relates to reality. Right? Back to the chorus. Most kings get their heads. Yes, 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 yes. Everybody want to be the king, then shots ring. You laying in the balcony with holes in your dreams, right? So, all right, I didn't finish comparing the stuff to have had and lost, better than not having at all. So now that's a question that you ask yourself, right? Again, let's get back to this before we go any further. Is to have had and lost better than not having at all? So if you've never experienced that, you don't know what it feels like to have ever been to reach those heights. So now, because you haven't reached those heights, right? There's still a part of you that wishes, and maybe you get to the point where you're like, yo, you know what? Whatever. I'm content. I'm good. I don't even have to, right? Maybe you get to that point where you're just dismissive of it. And maybe you are able to find some level of happiness without that high life or without attaining those things that you think that you wanted at some point. But then you won't have to go through the ups and downs of being sued every week and this, that, and the third. Some of these people, especially with the situation with academics, we can't make no excuses for you, brother. But certainly in other cases, when people are being sued, right? Especially for things that they haven't done or people that they don't even know, but then they have to settle. It's like another thing, and then another thing piled on another thing, and it's like, damn, man, I got to get away from this because people tend to look at it from one perspective, thinking those people have everything that it is that they want. So now this is a question. I'm not even entirely sure. If I should actually hold on one second. Hold on one second. I think I should start a poll. I think that's a good question to ask. Is to have had and lost better than not having at all? Right? So that's a question without a question mark. So just bear with me when where that's concerned, right? So goes back into the chorus and then everybody want to be the king, then shots ring. You laying in the balcony with holes in your dreams. You see the elements that are being used here. You see the metaphors and the symbolism. You see how it's not exactly what it is. You laying in the balcony with holes in your dreams, right? This isn't you. This is your dreams, right? But it's like he brought your dreams in human form in a way where you could visualize it from the physical dimension. So it's like, everybody want to be the king, then shots ring. You're laying in the balcony with holes in your dreams, right? Look at where Akademiks is right now, right? Figuratively speaking, laying in the balcony with holes in your dreams, right? Laying in the balcony, figuratively speaking, with holes in his dreams. Because he wanted to be the king. And shots ring. Laying in the balcony with holes in his dreams, right? Think about it. Let's decipher it. Got to the top of all the hip hop charts in terms of the hip hop media, independent media, this, that, and the third, worldwide known, making a whole bunch of money, showing everybody his cars, going to Jamaica, going to Canada, going to all these places, going to these different places, hanging out, paying all this money, linking with all the celebrities, doing all the interviews, all of this sort of stuff. Right? And then boom, something like this happens. laying in the balcony with holes in your dreams. Because make no mistake about it, it's like I said before, don't think that this is just a situation that's just going to disappear and it just go back to normal. I don't see that happening, but even if that does, you still left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. I don't care how much power it is that you think you have or whatever. It's certain people that's just not going to rock with that at all. At all. Certain people just see that's like, that's disgusting. That's disgusting behavior. We want to protect our children. And we want to protect the children of people in other communities. We want to protect the kids. Period, point blank. So it's other people that just see that as absolutely disgusting. So you're going to have those group of people, you know what I mean, that are going to have their opinion regardless of whatever happens with this situation. So, or you're Malcolm X, or you're Malcolm X'd out. Get distracted by screams. Everybody get your hand out my jeans. Everybody look at you strange, say you changed. Like you worked that hard to stay the same. The, the game stays the same. The name changes. So it's best for those to not overdose on being famous. Listen to that part right there. So it's best for those to not overdose on being famous. Look at what it is. And look at how art imitates reality. So when Jay-Z was speaking on other songs saying that fame was the worst drug known to man, right? Here he's telling you it's best for you not to overdose on being famous. And even though Jay-Z has acquired this level of fame, you've seen where it's like he's kind of off into the sun. He's not always in the limelight. He's not always doing interviews. He just wants to. I think he was more in it for the money than he was for the fame. But I think the fame was just a part of it to kind of give him self-confidence. Right? But that's my perspective. I could be wrong. Everybody look at you strange, say you change, like you worked that hard to stay the same. Game stays the same, the name changes, so it's best for those to not overdose on being famous. Most kings get driven so insane that they gotta hit the same vein that Cobain did. So dangerous, no strangers invited to the inner sanctum of your chambers, low chambers. The enemy's approaching, so raise your drawbridge and drown them in the moat. In the spirit I'm evoking, there's kings who've been awoken from shots from those who was most close to them. They won't stop till you will ghost to them, right? And this is kind of talking about the people that are in sort of in your circle that kind of turn their back on you, people that are jealous of you, right? People that don't think that you should have what it is that you have, everything that it is that you work for, other people kind of want it, or for whatever. Like this is just what it is, right? They won't stop till you will ghost to them, but real kings don't die, they become martyrs. Let's toast to them. King Arthur put a robe to him. Like James Brown, know the show ain't over until Rome's ruined, till the republic is overthrown, till my loyal subjects is overhove, right? Until the republic is overthrown, till my loyal subjects is overhove. Long live the king, no, the rain won't stop. They want my head on a chopping block. I won't. See, this is exactly what it is that we're talking about. So what we're witnessing is art imitating reality. This is exactly what it is that we're talking about here, right? And then when we go to the case of what it is that actually happened, right? This is I want to do more songs, but I think we should actually go into actually looking at the evidence and regarding let's see the Jay-Z accuser situation, right? So I've watched it a number of times.
Yourself.
I've watched this interview on MSNBC at times. I've probably watched it 3 or 4 times, maybe even 5 times. So I kind of have an idea of, what it is that she's gonna say, and I could show you guys step by step a lot of the things that she's saying and the inaccuracies in what it is that she's saying and what's going on with reality. You understand what I'm saying? So not only can I do that, right? If you agree here, right? I think, hold on 1 second. All right, I can't find it. I don't know why the comment section is not there. But if you do go in the comment section, you can see for yourself how a lot of people think about it. But listen to this.
And be a voice for yourself. You should never let what somebody else did ruin or run your life.
A 38-year-old mother from Alabama who has filed a lawsuit accusing Sean Diddy Combs and Jay-Z of raping her when she was 13 years old is speaking out to NBC News for the first time. She asked us not to reveal her identity.
What made you want to come and talk today?
Because I think that I've been quiet long, what I've been through, and it's been hard enough to be quiet. But it's a chapter of my life that I'd like to close.
An NBC News review of her account found inconsistencies with her allegations. She says that she went to the MTV Video Music Awards in 2000, a glimpse of her favorite celebrities.
You weren't scared to be all alone?
All right, listen to what the lady just asked her. She asked her, wasn't afraid to be alone. Now, I want you guys to kind of listen to what her response is, right? This is cryptic reasoning. Like, listen, we're going to view this from all angles, right? But we got to go off of what it is that she's saying. We could only go off of what it is that she's saying. We were not there. So what is it that she has to say? All right. You weren't scared. So she was asked, you weren't scared. Now, listen to her response to that question. Oh, sorry about that.
Talking to Benji, feeling like you,
Here it is. Hold on.
having autism.
Her favorite celebrities.
You weren't scared to be all alone?
No, with having autism is like feeling like you live your life in a shatterproof juggle ball. The world's on fire. The fire is inside the ball with you, but there's no way for you to get out.
In addition to
So listen to her response, right? So everyone experiences autism in different ways. Now, I'm not here to diagnose somebody or undiagnose them or whatever it is, right? Like, people experience the world in different ways, right? It's various different people that have various different conditions, whether it be mental conditions, physical conditions, health conditions, whatever it is. No two people are going to describe their experience with having autism the same exact way. This is her experience. We can go off of what it is that she's saying about her experience, but think about it. Think about it. She said it's like having autism, it's like being trapped inside of a ball. The ball's on fire. The fire is inside the ball. So the fire is inside the ball, and there's no way for her to get out. Right? So she said this is associated with her having autism. She didn't say it's because of experiences that she's had. By default, because she has autism, according to her words, this is how she experienced the world. So if you kind of break that down and decipher that, that sounds like an individual who's trapped inside of a ball, like going off of her words, trapped, and her world is on fire, but she cannot escape that fire. So she's trapped. This sounds like an individual who's somewhat troubled. Based on what it is that she said, we're not going off of anything else. We're not making anything up. This sounds like somebody who is troubled. This sounds like somebody who needs help. This sounds like somebody who should have been helped a very, very long time ago. This is what it sounds like. But let's move on. Let's actually continue, right? Because again, this is cryptic. We're just going off of what it is that she's saying. We're not going to make up anything. We're not going to try to divert anything. No. What is it that she said? This is what she said. This is what the accuser is saying. Let's listen to the evidence of what it is that she's saying, and then let's go from there. I'm not going to join a witch hunt to try to say somebody did something. If they did something, and if we have evidence, in which we clearly do in the DJ Akademiks situation, but these two situations are not the same. Okay? So let's listen to
Having autism, the woman says she suffered a head injury. The night of the 2000s VMAs, she says a friend drove her from Rochester, New York to Manhattan.
Look at this. Rochester, New York, Manhattan. Look at that map right there. Rochester, New York. I don't think you guys understand how far this is, right? I know anybody who's been watching this my channel for a while, you guys know that I go upstate a lot, right? I go upstate a lot. What I call upstate, it's like in this region right here, bro. Like, I'll be honest with you. It's like in this region right here. This is upstate for me. You understand what I'm saying? People from Rochester don't even consider this upstate. It take you like an hour, 2 hours to get here. Some of these places that's like just right off here, right? 5 hours from here to New York City, in excess of 5 hours. And then think back, this is the early 2000s. This is the year 2000. So think about the year 2000. You weren't picking up your phone and just typing it into your phone to be like, all right, cool, I'm going to Manhattan, boom. And it just plots out a route, finds you all the routes. You could avoid the tolls, all of that sort of stuff. No pit stops, tells you where the traffic is and all of that sort of stuff. No. So it's not going to be a straight shot in 2000. It's not. 2000, you got to read signs. Oh, I got to turn there. You might have to even buy a map. Most people was buying maps back then. Some people had GPSs. Everybody didn't have GPSs back then. Most people didn't have GPSs back then. This is the year 2000. This is 25 years ago. Right? So let's go. Let's continue.
A more than 5-hour drive. Her attorney provided NBC News with the name of the friend who has since died. The woman says she spoke to Combs's limo driver who offered her a ride to an after party.
I stumbled upon Diddy.
And look, I'm not saying people don't pass on. But that in itself, to me, that's a little bit, it's like, oh, okay, friend, all right, cool. You know, that's not out of the norm or out of the ordinary. It could be that the friend actually really did pass on. Not saying that the friend did or didn't pass on or whatever it is, but could it be one of those cases where it's like, oh, you just tell them the name of a friend and that friend just happened to not be here anymore? Right? I don't know.
Diddy's driver who told me that I was exactly what Diddy was looking for.
So listen to her words.
Stumbled upon Diddy.
She spoke to Combs's limo driver who offered her a ride to an after party.
I stumbled upon Diddy's driver who told
Stumbled upon Diddy's driver. So she left there. She left from Rochester and she got to Manhattan and just stumbled across Diddy's driver. Just stumbled across Diddy's driver. Okay. Maybe. It's possible. Things do, I guess, align like that sometimes. I don't know. Maybe.
told me that I was exactly what Diddy was looking for.
What did you think when he said that to you?
I thought it meant that I was just pretty.
She went to a White House, she says, where she spoke to musicians Benji Madden and his brother.
Okay, so we're going to stop it right there. Benji Madden and his brother. So Benji Madden and his brother were a part of this group called Good Charlotte, right? Right? So they were a part of this group called Good Charlotte. And we're going to take a look because MTV VMAs, right? I looked it up. The MTV VMAs of that year happened on September the 7th, the year 2000. So I want everybody that's watching right now, go ahead and type in right onto your phone or whatever it is if you want, right? Or you could just take my word for it. MTV. All right. Okay, cool. There we go. It's up. All right, cool. So Good Charlotte, right? On September the 7th, 2000, Good Charlotte was in Chicago, Illinois, right? It's right there. Chicago, Illinois on September 7th. September 7th was in Chicago. Well, let's September the 6th, I believe it is, that's happening right here. Either way, cool happens here. I don't know. It's jumping out of control. So September 6th, right. So now, give me a second. Stop sharing that. Yeah, so that was kind of bugging out a little bit. We're going to get back to that in a minute, to what it is that we were talking about. But kind of looking at the evidence and everything that it is that she's saying, when you kind of line it up with what's happening in reality, it's like, hold on. Well, these things are not really adding up. And we want to take your allegations very seriously, because regardless of how we feel about whomever, anybody that's doing these things to children, I don't have any empathy or sympathy for, deserves whatever it is that's coming to them. Regardless of how much I like your music, regardless of how much your movies are great, regardless of whoever it is that you are, it does not matter. So because of how serious these allegations are, right, we're going to kind of give you the benefit of the doubt. But hold on, time out. We're going to give you the benefit of the doubt for some things. But if we find out that you're lying, that's not good. Then should the consequences that were given to him be given to you at this point? But let's get back to this, right? Let's get back to what it is. Let's see if we could kind of, because sometimes this thing does be bugging sometimes. Hold on, give me a second. Let's see if we could get back to this. Are we there? All right, cool. Boom. Let's exit out of that one. All right, cool. So we just established where Good Charlotte was. So Good Charlotte, September 7th, was not there. Good Charlotte on September 7th was in Chicago, Illinois, right? Which is a 12-hour. I think Thrifty, you remember, I went to Chicago in September, which is crazy, right? Because in September, that's where I was this year, September of this year. I went to Chicago. Of course, September 2000, I was a child, right? I was even younger than she was. But in September of this year, this is where I was. I was actually in Chicago. I think Thrifty, if you remember, I kind of did some streams over there when I was in Chicago as well. Beautiful, beautiful city. Love Chicago. But Chicago is an even further drive. Chicago, ladies and gentlemen, if you were to drive to Chicago straight, it would take you 12 hours and change. It didn't take me 12 hours. It probably took me like 18, maybe 20, something like that, because I did stop a few times. I stopped over in Cleveland. I stopped over in Akron. I did a number of different stops. So, and I rested a few times. So it's not close. That's the point that I'm trying to make. Chicago and New York, they ain't close like that. You know what I mean?
To a White House, she says, where she spoke to musicians Benji Madden and his brother.
I'm talking to Benji Madden about his tattoo, because, you know, I have about his tattoo that's...
Here's my thing. So she's implementing people into this situation that, based on the evidence, were not involved in the situation. That's a problem. We just established that Benji Madden and his brother were having a tour over there in the Midwest. Now you're implementing them in something, saying that you were actually having a conversation. You mean to tell me that Benji Madden didn't say, hey, hold on, what's this little girl doing here? What is she doing here? What's going on here? What kind of party is this? So you see how she's putting smut on people's name indirectly? You see how the smut is other people's name is being smutted indirectly? And whether this be something where it's like she can't really decipher who, but she in detail was talking about a tattoo that this individual has. She's going in detail, speaking about a tattoo and speaking as if this is an event that actually took place. This is what it is that she's saying. So you see how you get to the point where it's like, okay, I really want to hear you out. Honestly, I do. But once we get to this point, it's like, what exactly is going on here? Is this one of those cases where the ball that's on fire, where the fire is trapped in the ball, is it something where you're trying to let the fire out so that you could ignite other people's world? Is this one of those things where maybe she's unconsciously, maybe it's not something where she's deliberately doing this, but she's unconsciously affecting other people's lives in a negative way because of the trouble that she's facing, that she says that she's been facing, in how she described how her mind is. Well, let's listen further.
It's the Last Supper because, I have about his tattoo that's the Last Supper because I have a religious background. So it was just that's to talk about.
In a statement to NBC News, a representative of the Maddens confirmed that they did not attend the 2000 VMAs and that they were on tour in the Midwest at the time. At the after party, she says she had a drink that made her feel woozy. Then she says Combs and Carter took turns raping her while a female celebrity watched.
JC comes in.
Okay. So now she went from that, and then, right? She just was speaking about Madden, and we confirmed that Madden wasn't there and everything like that, right? We just confirmed that the Maddens were in the Midwest. And even if the Maddens were there, the Maddens should have been alerting the situation like, hold on, this kid should not be here. But we've confirmed that the Maddens were just not there. All right. So now she goes into this, and then she kind of goes into she starts to kind of talking about the situation. So now, do we dismiss the inaccuracies that have taken place to this point? Do we dismiss the things that she's been taking to this point and just have a clean slate and say, okay, all right, cool. She's not lying now. Now she's telling the truth. Everything else is false. But this part right here, this is where the truth is. Everything else she's saying is a lie, but this part right here is definitely true. You see how it's not definite? You see how it's not concrete? You see how it sort of has some sort of Emmett Till sort of vibe to it? You get what it is that I'm saying? So it's not like the academic situation where everything is just right out there. It's like there's nothing that you could say to us because we know, we can confirm, you have confirmed, the kid has confirmed, everybody involved has confirmed. So we know exactly what it is that happened there. Well, in terms of the conversation, we know what's happening there. Here, we're listening to the person describing the story. We're checking the receipts, and we're like, hold on. Well, this don't add up. This don't add up neither. This don't add up. Oh, now this is the part that's true. Oh, okay. But everything else is just conveniently inaccurate, except this part. Oh, this is the part that's the truth part. So when Beanie Siegel kind of broke it down, and Beanie Siegel spoke about this, and Beanie Siegel said, there's people who want it to be true. So despite everything else that's happening, look, I'm not here to defend anybody. I don't know what these people do behind the scenes. I don't know how they live their life behind the dark. I can appreciate the art. I can appreciate the music. So this isn't me swearing for anybody. Of course, I don't want to believe that Hov has been or Jay-Z's been involved in any of these situations. Of course, I don't want to believe that. But if the evidence tells me that this is what it is that's happening, I have no choice but to believe that that's what's happening. And at that point, whatever consequences comes to him is a result of the seeds that he's planted. However, when we're looking at this objectively, not based on hearsay, not based on people who have an agenda, not based on people who want to make content, not based on people who want this to be true, but based on the evidence, based on what it is that she's saying, well, hold on. Let's take several back seats right here, because most of the things that you're saying up until this point sounds like a fantasy. And when we confirm it with with actual reality, doesn't seem as if these things are true. But this part, oh, this is the part that's true. Is it true because people want it to be true? Or is it true that because it actually happened? I don't know. Do you? Let's listen in.
And rapes me. JC comes in and rapes me. He at that point I was fighting, trying to get away from him, and he put his hand over my mouth and told me to stop it, cut the.
After the alleged rape, she says she ran to a gas station where she called her father, who picked her up and drove her home.
We rode home.
Boom. So now she's left the situation. She ran to a gas station. She found a phone. She called her father. What I want to know is, between the time and the time that you had to wait, why did the gas station clerk not get on the phone, call 911, and tell them, hey, listen, come get this girl. She looks traumatized. There's something happening right here. I need you guys to come get, she looks like she's young. I need you guys to come investigate and see what it is that's happening here. Because you went to a gas station. Nobody saw you at that gas station. Nobody saw you at that gas station in New York City. In New York City. Nobody saw you at that gas station. Nobody thought, oh, call 911. Look, I've been in the city before. I saw somebody bleeding out on the ground. You know what I did? Ain't got nothing to do with this. Call 911 so they could come get this guy up off the ground. He's bleeding from his ear. All type of stuff is going on. 911, hey, look, there's somebody here on the ground. There's something happened to him. It looks like something happened. I'm not entirely sure what it is, but you know, he's holding his neck or whatever, wherever it was. But things were happening. They came, they did what it is that they needed to do. That situation had nothing to do with me. And this happened, 2001, maybe 2002? Right? So you mean to tell me nobody who saw this young lady got on the phone and called 911 and said, hey, there's this girl here. She looks like something happened. Obviously, something traumatic happened with this girl. She's here without her parents. It's 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m. in the morning. It's this little girl at this gas station. I think you guys need to come down here and come find out what it is that's happening. A 5-hour waiting period. Again, remind you, a minimum 5 hours because this is the year 2000. There was no everybody wasn't riding around with GPSs. And if you lived in Rochester, unless you know the route to get to New York, which would probably only be like a truck driver or somebody who is in that sort of industry, it's going to take you some time to get to New York City. Now, once you get to New York City, right? Now you got to find the exact gas station in New York City. Where you come from the country, which Rochester is not New York City. Trust me, I've been to Rochester. It ain't New York City. Not exactly country, but it's country. Right? And then you come to New York City, and now you have to find a gas station. Was it 106th Street, 42nd Street? Is it Lenox Avenue? Is it Times Square? Is it Soho? You know, where exactly are we going? So now you have to locate the gas station, right? So now let's continue. Let's listen into what it is that she's saying, right? This is why, for me, this is why I got to use reasoning. This is why this channel is called Cryptic Reasoning, because we are going to decipher what it is that's happening here in real time. We're going to break it down. We're going to just look at it from all different angles, and we're going to see what it is, right? Because people tend to allow people to gaslight them into believing what it is that they don't believe. Listening to this story, sounds like some people are forcing themselves to try to believe this. This ain't the Akademiks case. That's clear cut. That's signed, sealed, delivered. This, you have to be more objective with this. Regardless of how you feel about a man, if he did something, he reaps what he sows. If he didn't do something, don't put that on that man. Do not put that on that man if he didn't do it. If he did it, that's a different story. Let's listen in.
I'm in silence. She didn't ask me what happened. It cut the
After the alleged rape, she says she ran to a gas station where she called her father.
She had to wait minimum 5 hours. Nobody called the cops. They could take this little girl to come get this little girl some help. Nobody. She didn't say, hey, I need help. Nothing. Just ran to the gas station and called her father. Nothing in between. Okay.
Father, who picked her up and drove her home.
We rode home in silence. She didn't ask me what happened. He didn't ask me what I did or where I was.
Now she's putting smut on her father's name. On behalf of every father that's out there, I'm not going to say everybody's a good father. I'm not going to say every father is present in his child's life. Like, I would be naive to say that. There's some fathers out there that are just absent. There's some fathers out there that don't care. But if you have a father that's willing to drive 5 hours to leave Rochester, New York, to come pick up his daughter somewhere in Manhattan, which is going to take hours, we're saying 5 hours minimum, right? We don't know how long it took. She got to stay awake. It's early in the morning. She ain't had no sleep. All of that. So now he has to get in his car, drive all the way from Rochester. Wait, remember, I showed you guys the map. You guys know how far this is. Way down to New York City. Once he gets to New York City, you mean to tell me he's not going to say, girl, what the hell is you doing down here? What in the hell are you doing down here? Why do you look like that? What happened to you? Who were you with? Who took you here? You ain't asked no questions. So she put the Maddens on the scene. We understand the Maddens weren't there. Literally, we just looked at the tour dates and we seen that on September the 7th, the Maddens were in Chicago, which we have confirmed, and I have driven from New York City to Chicago and back. So I know how long it takes to go from New York City to Chicago. But they were on tour in the Midwest, and you see that September 6th, they were in Milwaukee. September 5th, they were somewhere else in the Midwest. So we see all of that. But now, confirm that Benji Madden, the Maddens were not there, the tattoo, none of that happened. But now the father drove 5 hours and he came and he didn't ask no questions. So you put smut on Benji Madden's name. And now you're putting smut on your father's name. That would be he drove there. Fair enough. He drove there. But that would have to be the worst type of father in the world to see that something is off about his daughter and not ask any questions. So this is exactly what it is that I'm talking about in terms of when we look at the situation and we look at it objectively and we look at it from all angles, it's like, hold on, wait a second. Wait, hold on. Wait, what? He didn't ask you any questions. He just drove there and just drove you back in silence. He got to drive 10 hours and he didn't say nothing to you. He didn't ask you, did you eat? You didn't eat nothing? Nothing? Didn't bring you any food, no snacks, nothing? Didn't say your mom is worried sick about you, nothing? Your grandma's asking where you been, nothing? Nothing happened in between that time, according to her. And this is according to her. According to her, no questions were asked. the father just drove back in silence. Listen again.
He called her father, who picked her up and drove her home.
We rode home in silence. He didn't ask me what happened. He didn't ask me what I did or where I was.
In an interview with NBC News, her father said he could not verify the claims. Quote, I felt like I would remember that, and I don't. I have a lot going on, but I mean, that's something that would definitely stick in my mind, he said.
Look, you're going to remember driving a 10-hour minimum round trip to pick up your daughter, no matter what it is that happens in your life from that point. You're going to remember that situation. That's something that sticks with you. The anxiety of having to drive, right? To go pick up your daughter from so far away, hoping that she's going to be okay, just to drive and then pick her up and just the release, just the, oh my God, I'm so glad you're okay. Where have you been? What's been happening? What's going on? This is something you would remember. So if you want me to join in on a witch hunt, I just won't. This is the evidence. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the evidence that we're working with. From the person that is putting out this lawsuit. Inspired by Basquiat, my chariot's on fire. Everybody take shots, hit my body up, I'm tired. Build me up, break me down. Build me up again. They like, Hove, we need you back so we can. Right? They won't stop till you a ghost to them. We just went right over this song. We looked at this whole song. Media meddles. People sue you, you settle. Every step you take, they remind you, you ghetto. I wonder if you guys are really decoding the cryptic where this is concerned. Don't just sit up here and just take these things as face value just because people said something or put smut on somebody's name. That doesn't always mean that it's true. So we're contrasting what it is that transpired with the academic situation, and we're looking at what happened with the Jay-Z situation. We're looking at two completely separate situations. Completely different. One has nothing to do with the other. However, in one case, we have evidence. We even have confessions. On another case, when we look at the evidence, we compare that evidence of someone who's trapped in a ball, and the ball is on fire, and the fire is inside that ball. Someone who's troubled. For better or worse, she needs help. She does. It's clear as day. Somebody neglected that young lady. But when we look at what it is that she's saying, ladies and gentlemen, when we look at the evidence, it doesn't look too realistic. So get back to what it is that the father said.
He could not verify the claims. Quote, I felt like I would remember that, and I don't. I have a lot going on, but I mean, that's something that would definitely stick in my mind, he said. When we asked the woman about the contradictions in a phone interview on Friday, she said that she stands by her statements. I have made some mistakes, she said. Honestly, what is the clearest is what happened to me. The inconsistencies in her account of an incident alleged to have happened 24 years ago does not necessarily mean the allegations are false. The accuser's attorney, Tony Busby, said, because we have interrogated her intensely, she has even agreed to submit to a polygraph. This has been extremely distressing for her, to the point she has experienced seizures and had to seek medical treatment due to the stress. In a statement to NBC News, Sean Carter said, this incident didn't happen, and yet he filed it in court and doubled down in the press. True justice is coming. We fight from victory, not for victory.
Is any part of you scared? coming out against such powerful people?
Yeah, I'm scared of what could happen, but I'm more afraid of letting it eat me alive from the inside out than I am of, you know, being chastised by their fans.
All right, Chloe Malas joining us now live. Chloe, we just heard a very
Okay, so that's that. So everybody's gonna have their own sort of takeaway from that situation. People are gonna feel how it is that they feel. There's people that already don't like Jay-Z. You know what I mean? There's something called karmic debt. You understand what I'm saying? I don't know how it's going to turn out, right? This situation. But as far as the evidence is concerned, when I look at the evidence and I look at it as objectively as I possibly can, and I look at it and I think about it and I compare and I just look at everything. It's like, hold on. Nah, there's something going on right here. There's something kind of off about this situation. Everything doesn't add up. It just doesn't. Right? So there's people that's dragging Jay-Z all over the media. There's people dragging Jay-Z all over the media, all over social media, everywhere, before he even had a day in court in regards to the situation. And typically, media meddles, people sue you, you settle. Typically, what would happen in this case like this is he more than likely would have settled. But because he knows that this didn't happen, and because this ties him in with Diddy, who that's just a completely different case, right? That dude is just beyond disgusting, right? Now, are there some cases where people are trying to get money out of it? Yes. Are some of these things that are happening, are some of them true? Yes, I believe so, right? These are allegations as of right now. I haven't looked over all of the evidence. Diddy's different. This ain't about him. This connects them together. So of course he's going to defend himself. And then people talk about him and Diddy being friends. Maybe. I've seen them together. I may have assumed that they were friends as well. I don't know. I don't necessarily know if Jay-Z really has friends, to be honest with you. I don't think he necessarily has friends. I think Jay-Z has business associates. I think the friends that he actually really has are people that he came up with, like a Emery or a Memphis Bleak. I think those are some of his day ones. But I think as far as everything else goes, it's like, oh, you're a mogul. I'm a mogul. You're a multimillionaire / billionaire maybe one day. I'm a multimillionaire / maybe billionaire one day. We have something in common. You're from New York, a different borough. I'm from Brooklyn. Right? Okay, cool. All right, cool. Let's go ahead. Let's hang out. Let's buy some cars. Let's do this. Let's do that. Right. You know what I mean? People who do business tend to associate with other business people that are in their field. That does not necessarily mean that these people are tied in together 24/7. Even if you see them at events together, that doesn't mean that because they were at the same event together, that they were involved in doing the same things. If you guys don't know, people might invite you out for a business meeting. You guys may go to a restaurant, dress up, take some pictures, take some photos, whatever it is, maybe go on a yacht, whatever, right? Not entirely sure. I'm not saying that this is exactly what it is that they're doing, but people do these things. This is what people in that world do. Doesn't mean everybody was involved in all of the same things. So I think people should just be objective about what it is, especially when it comes to putting certain things on people's names. Am I going to sit up here and say Jay-Z is innocent in everything? No, I'm not. right? But I think in terms of being the most focused rapper of all time, I don't think there was ever a rapper as focused as Jay-Z. And being somebody who's listened to Jay-Z for a very long time, since I was a child listening to Jay-Z, all of the things that he was saying that he was going to do, he actually did. He exceeded the goals that he set. 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 4. In just 5 weeks, 40 million more. In just 5 years, 80 million more, or whatever it is that he said. I can't really quite remember all of the lyrics verbatim, but he basically gave you the actual blueprint about what it is that he was going to do. He spoke these things into existence. Life is really just a beach chair for this individual. But of course, there are people who want to see him sink. Is Jay-Z perfect? No. Jay-Z's admitted to doing some things that were very, very bad back in the day when he felt like his back was against the wall and he had to hit the streets. Right? People could relate to that. Not here to say that it's right or wrong, but when you're trying to survive, people may try to survive in different ways. I'm not going to sit up here and just judge somebody for that. Is it wrong when you're destroying people around you, when you're hurting people around you? Yeah, that's come on. Come on. I think we all know the answer to that. But I think people just I think people just want to just watch that whole thing just crumble. People just want to kind of just drag you back there. And again, it's to have had and lost better than not having at all. So I asked the question, is to have had and lost better than not having at all? And it seems as if 67% of people have said yes. To have had and lost is better than not having at all. Okay. I ain't mad at that. But yeah, that's the reason why when I compare the Jay-Z situation and I compare the academic situation, people might think, oh, no, the two situations are not the same to me. They're just not. If you're going to call somebody that, show me the evidence, right? And then we'll go from there. But if the evidence is like this, I wasn't there. So I can't just be like, oh, yeah, that's you did it just because somebody said you did it. No, people lie. People lie. People lie. Have you ever been lied on? Maybe not to that degree. Maybe somebody doesn't put this smut on your name, but people have lied before. People have lied on some of you before. Probably not to this degree. Again, maybe somebody didn't say you did this, but people have lied on you before. I'm sure of it. Anyway, that's the academics and the Jay-Z portion of this segment. Now, A$AP Rocky, right? I don't know anything about this. I heard something vaguely, oddly enough, probably from DJ Akademiks, who was talking about this situation a while back. But I don't know much about the A$AP Rocky situation. I don't know exactly what it is that took place, but I kind of do want out because I do know that some things were involved. Weapons were involved in the situation. Yeah, I do know that much, but I don't know all the details about it. So yeah, let's sort of find out about that situation together. I'm not gonna sit up here and watch the whole, the whole sort of video that we're gonna get into next, but yeah, let's see what's happening with A$AP Rocky.
In this case, will be that the man in the black sweatshirt was the defendant, Rakeem Myers. That evidence will be uncontradicted.
This case is all about money. You're going to see the only reason we're in this courtroom is because Rocky would not agree to be a victim of another one of his crimes.
ASAP Rocky's future is on the line as he stands trial accused of firing a gun at his former friend during a 2021 showdown. While prosecutors build their case on a key witness and surveillance clips, the defense is arguing there are questionable motives behind the accusations. We're going to break all this down right now with acclaimed attorney Bradford Cohen. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Hey, by the way, real quick before we go any further, I don't know if you know this, but the video version of Sidebar is now available on Spotify. That's right. We're so thankful for your guys' support of us getting the show on Spotify video is truly due to how loyal this audience is. So thank you so much for that. And yes, you can now watch and listen on the go, from Diddy to Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively, the crazy court moments that we cover. It is all on Spotify. So right now, you can scan the QR code on screen or click the link in the description to follow Sidebar on Spotify. One of hip-hop's biggest stars, ASAP Rocky, is now standing trial in a case that could change the course of his career and land him behind bars for years. What began as an alleged altercation in 2021 has now become a courtroom drama, with Rocky's future all hanging in the balance. Now, ASAP Rocky, born Rakeem Mayers, made his name in 2011 with his smash hit Peso, and it solidified his place in hip-hop history as a founding member of the iconic ASAP Mob Collective. But beyond his music, you might know him for other things because he has become a fashion mogul. He's in a very high-profile relationship with global superstar Rihanna, the mother of his 2 children. But now, Rocky is at the center of a legal storm, accused of firing a gun at his former friend, Terrell ASAP Relly Efron, during a heated dispute that took place in Hollywood years ago. Now, the saga begins in the fall of 2021, when Rocky and Efron, once childhood friends and fellow members of the ASAP mob, they agreed to meet in a parking garage near the W Hotel in Hollywood to seemingly settle their differences. But according to Efron, what was supposed to be a private conversation ended up turning violent. He testified in a pre-trial hearing that during the meeting, Rocky allegedly pulled out a gun and fired it at him, the bullet grazing his knuckles. Now, surveillance footage from the scene appears to show a man wearing a black hoodie, who prosecutors later identified as Rocky, holding a gun. But the defense has cast serious doubt on that footage and suggested that the weapon wasn't a real gun. It was a prop gun. This was not a real firearm. And they argued that it was a pistol that only fired blanks, which Rocky had used for personal security rather than a weapon capable of actually causing real harm. Now, to be clear, though, starter pistols, if they do fire blanks, they can potentially cause harm if they're fired in close proximity to another person. But what's more, no gun was recovered from the scene. And after a police search of the area, apparently no shell casings were found. I will say, though, and this is what's really interesting, days later, I believe 2 days later, Efron allegedly returned to the scene and picked up 9mm shell casings, which he apparently brought to the police. Rocky was arrested in April of 2022 while at a Los Angeles airport as he and Rihanna were returning from a trip to Barbados. He's pleaded not guilty to 2 felony counts of assault with a semi-firearm, was released on.
You know, that whole situation is crazy, man. Because again, based on what it is that the lawyer is saying, right? It sounds as if these are people that grew up together. These are childhood friends. I'm not entirely sure what would make you want to pull out a weapon against your childhood friend, right? Things do tend to get intense sometimes when testosterone is involved and dudes are, maybe somebody feels threatened or whatever it is, or, maybe words are exchanged or whatever it is. But in a situation like this is somebody that you know. So, and it doesn't seem as if the other person was armed. I don't necessarily know if it is a real gun or a fake gun. I mean, allegedly the gun wasn't real. Who knows, right? Like, who actually really knows? Just going off of what it is that these people are saying. But either way, what was the conversation like? What was it that was happening during the conversation that made you feel as if you needed to brandish a firearm against your friend? Because they're saying that a firearm was brandished, but they were saying that it was some sort of fake gun, not verbatim, but they said it in a way where it's like it's just a pellet gun or something along those lines. It doesn't really fire real shots or this, that, and the third, and blase, right? Again, question remains, is to have had and lost better than not having at all? Because look, ASAP Rocky beat the streets, left Harlem, made music, was in the industry, became a music icon, became a fashion icon. Got babies with Rihanna. Billionaire Rihanna. Global superstar Rihanna. Under my umbrella, Ella, Rihanna. Is to have had and lost, but not having at all. You don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. It doesn't bring me any joy to see these people work so hard, work so smart, put themselves in a position to elevate themselves out of a way of thinking, out of a way of being, out of a counterproductive culture, right? And I'm talking about the street culture, only to keep elements of that to get to this situation where it seems as if his friend was actually backing up and backing away. Somebody was actually, you understand what I'm saying? Was there what made it necessary? At this point, it's like what I want to know is what made it necessary. What did you feel threatened enough that you felt like you had to fire the pellet gun, right? Or the gun that wasn't real? What made you feel as if this is the time for you to fire the unreal gun at your friend? What did your friend say or do that made you feel like it was okay for you to do that? I think that's the part that I would like to know. And then on the friend side, it's like you decided that you were going to go and testify, right? Now, of course, regular citizens, that's what regular citizens do. If his friend is a regular citizen, then that's what regular citizens do. But if he's a regular citizen, was he talking street crap? Was he on some street shit? Was he like, yeah, what's up, man? What's up? You know what I mean? We're gonna do this, blah, 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 blah. What was the conversation like? What made you feel threatened that you had to go pull out on your friend? That's what I want to know. Well, let's go.
Bond. We'll talk about if it's a real gun, a fake gun, whether or not this charge actually sticks. So to help me break all this down, I want to bring on renowned criminal defense attorney Bradford Cohen, who's represented some high-profile people himself, like Kodak Black and Drake. Thanks so much for coming on, Bradford. Good to see you. So what are your initial impressions on this case?
I think there's a lot going on. So you have this victim that I believe has a weird story. There's some things that he says that don't really match up to what exactly the state has as evidence. The fact that he went back, and there's a lot going on there. So if it's relying solely on just his word, I think the defense can really beat this guy up. If it's also his word and then the video, that lends itself to a little bit more of a problem. And the fact that they're saying this was a pistol, I mean, I have a lot of experience in firearms. I've had multiple cases with firearms in terms of possession or assault. I just walked a guy last year on a federal gun charge where we were alleging at first that it wasn't a real gun. And then during the trial, we kind of modified our position. But when you look at this gun itself, the fact that they're saying it's a starter pistol, that's a little bit troublesome because they don't make semi-automatic starter pistols. That's the first kind of thing that is not so great for them. But then if you say, hey, it wasn't real, maybe it's not a starter pistol, but maybe it's an airsoft or a BB gun or something else where it wouldn't leave any shells behind, you're probably headed in the right direction with that.
Let me just clarify this. Are you saying if the jury sits back and they go, wait a minute, I think he had a starter pistol. I think he fired it. Maybe that's what grazed, Mr. Efron's knuckles. But is that assault with a semi-automatic firearm? Wouldn't he be not guilty?
No. So the long story short is a starter pistol cannot be considered a firearm because it doesn't fire a projectile. And if you look at the definition of a firearm, a starter pistol won't match it. The reason why they're saying it's a starter pistol is probably because there's a loud bang or there's a flash coming from it. That's why, it would be easier to say it was a airsoft gun or if it was a BB gun. But like I said, if there's a flash from the muzzle, if there's a loud bang, obviously you can't say that. You have to say it's a starter pistol. The problem that you have is if the state puts on experts to determine whether or not it could be a starter pistol, a semi-automatic starter pistol, I think that's kind of where it kind of gets a little bit murky for the defense.
Talk to me again, the idea that the shell casings came from the alleged victim in this case. What issues does that cause for the prosecution, and does it cause any issues for the defense?
So for the prosecution, it's massive amounts of problems. Whenever you have a alleged victim going back to the scene and collecting evidence themselves, you have so many issues. So number one is you have to establish a chain of custody. What a chain of custody means is that when you have evidence on a scene or any, you want to establish where it came from, how it was collected, where it went to next, who looked at it, so that you can establish the fact that no one.
Here's my thing with that, right? Here's my thing. Right? So you go back to the scene and you collect evidence. I don't have too much of a problem with that. But we got to look at this from several different angles as well. You go back to the scene, you pick something up, whatever it was. We probably can't make out exactly what it is that you picked up off the ground. And maybe you went somewhere and actually did get some casings, right? And then brought it back. But how can we prove that that's exactly what it is that you picked up? How can we prove that you picked this exact thing up from the scene? I think that's something that you kind of have to look into as well. Is this exactly what was picked up from the scene? Or did you pick something up from the scene? Or did you pretend to pick up something from the scene? And then voila, you went and you got some 9mm shells. So that's the problem that I kind of have with that situation. I think if you are going to do that, I think you have to bring your own sort of evidence. I think you have to prove that you never did come back to the scene. I think in a case like that, you have to actually videotape yourself going to the scene, right? And then other video camera footage have to show that you weren't at the scene before. And you videotape yourself going to the scene, back to where you were, and now you have to actually find the shell casings. And you mean to tell me in the time that passed, how many ever days that passed, months that passed, weeks that passed, whatever it is, that everything was in the exact same place as it was before? No cars drove over it. It seems like they was going in the middle of the road. No cars drove over it. It was just right there, same spot, just laying there. No tires drove over it. It's just regular. I don't know. Could be. Could be. Don't have enough evidence. I ain't got enough evidence. I did see it looks like he had a weapon in his hand, ASAP. It does look like he had a weapon in his hand. They're saying that it's not a real weapon, this, that, and a third. Weapons were fired. All right, cool. Now, let's look at the actual, okay, so based on what it is that happened, where you were hit, is there residue? Is there some sort of evidence showing that this is the exact type of weapon that was fired onto your knuckles or wherever it is that they said that he was hit? You understand what I'm saying? Like, I just want to know if exactly what it is that's happening, right? So you have to now prove that, yes, this is the actual same thing that actually hit me right here. Well, let's listen into what it is that
one tampered with it, that no one placed it there, that no one put fingerprints on it, that no one put DNA on it, that they didn't collect it from another area where they knew that individual might have DNA on it from, let's say, a gun range.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. You see, This is what I'm saying.
or something of that nature, and they collected, they dropped it on the scene. That's why you need to establish a chain of custody. That's number one. That's the worst part of it. Most judges will argue, oh, custody is important, but it goes to the weight of the evidence, meaning they're not going to eliminate that evidence just because they don't establish a chain of custody,
Right.
which I happen to disagree with. But they say it goes to the weight. The jury can still look at the evidence, but they're going to determine whether or not to say, yeah, this is good evidence or bad evidence. That's number one for the state. That really hurts them. Number two is it shows that either the police were incompetent and they couldn't find those shell casings, or this kid is a liar. So it's like, well, which one are you going to choose? Your cops are incompetent. They couldn't find shell casings normally they have dogs that can smell out gun casings. They also have detectors. I mean, cops find shell casings in the woods, in all kinds of different areas. I've never had someone say, oh, I didn't find any shell casings, and then had the alleged victim go back and say, oh, I found them. I knew where to look or whatever. Shell casings fly all over the place. And so it's not like the guy would know where to case.
That's exactly what it is that I'm saying. So you just went back to the exact place and were able to just go look and find it, right? You went and you found the shell casing yourself. No cars didn't drive over it. Nothing didn't happen to it. It was just there, right? Exactly where you thought that it was, in perfect shape. I don't know, man. I don't know. ASAP Rocky, yeah, depending on what it is that happened, if it was self-defense, and I'll never tell him to defend himself if he feels like his. I never will. If it was self-defense, it is what it is, man. Salute to you. But if this is one of those cases where, you understand what I'm saying? Like it's your man's and you and your man got a disagreement. This is your homie. Y'all got a disagreement, and this is what it's come to. I don't know what the backstory is. Maybe ASAP wasn't rocking with him no more. Maybe ASAP was like, yo, bro, stay away, or whatever. Maybe it's on site. You never really know what it is that took place. But how were you able to just go back to the scene and find the shell casing, right? When there was when the canines, which I'm alleging, I don't know if the canines actually did go there and try to find the shell casings or not, right? And you were able to find it because it's gonna fly. Right? It's not gonna just land right there. It's gonna fly. You understand what I'm saying? You don't know where it's gonna go. But you went back in the region and you found it, and it was just in perfect shape. Come on, man. I don't know, bro. I don't know.
Because they're ejected from a weapon and they can go left, right, up, down, sideways.
Right.
They go all over the place. So that's why you have that choice between either incompetent or your guy is lying, your defendant is lying, your victim is lying. So that's a real trouble for the prosecution. For the defense, I don't see the trouble in it. I actually think it's a huge win for the defense. The fact that this guy went back to the scene and found his own shell casings allegedly from ASAP, I think is a huge. They really need to hang their hat on. The starter pistol thing, I don't know. I don't know if that's going to fly or not. Maybe.
So the prosecution will come back and counter that, say, well, look, we have surveillance footage, we have the testimony of the victim. I will mention also, we'll get to this in a little bit, a 911 phone call, maybe other witnesses who heard gunshots. But talking about what could be potential weaknesses in the prosecution's case, is that why you believe ASAP Rocky, if you believe the reporting, actually rejected a plea deal from prosecutors? This is a deal that would have resulted in 6 months in jail, a 7-year suspended sentence, 3 years of probation. Because my understanding is, and correct me if I'm wrong, if he's convicted here, he could face up to 24 years in prison. That's what's being reported. Do you think that these weaknesses are why he actually chose not to move forward with the plea deal?
I certainly think that that's a big portion of it. I mean, if they have a lockdown, great case, right, the state, a defense attorney would say, hey, a coming to Jesus moment and say, hey, listen, this is what's working against us here. I think that the plea deal that was offered was a fair plea deal for the charges that are being charged. I don't know every single piece of evidence the defense is going to use or who they're going to put on. If they have a firearm that's going to put on the stand and say, hey, listen, not only do I know that it's a starter pistol, here's an example semi-automatic starter pistol. I personally have never seen one. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So they have a load of evidence that we don't know about because a smart defense attorney like Joe Tocopina will not show all his cards to the public because he doesn't want people like me or like anyone else saying, oh, that doesn't sound right. Wait until the time is right. Throw on your evidence. The state, I'm sure, already knows what's coming. But I think that would be what the motivating factor is here, is that they have some played.
Real quick, do you
Look, man, I don't know, man. The situation looking kind of sticky, but at the same time, based on what the evidence is, based on the fact that homeboy actually went back and actually found a shell case, and I'm not gonna sit here and say that that can't happen, right? It's not out of the realm of possibilities that that's something that actually can happen. Maybe he was just so diligent. Maybe he went there with some sort of magnet or something like that, and he was just there with the magnet, and then voila, boom, magnet picked up a casing. Who knows exactly what it is that happened? Not entirely sure why the shell casing wasn't originally found. That would be somewhat incompetence. That wouldn't be corruption, right? On the side of the people that were actually investigating and looking for that, because it would be somewhat something where it's like they didn't discard of the evidence, right? They didn't find the evidence and discard it. They just didn't see it. They didn't find it, right? So it's one of those things where it's like, that's the tricky part of it. This could be one of those situations. I don't know. I don't have enough evidence to say. The evidence that I do have is I do see ASAP Rocky is holding something in his hand. I mean, that's clear as day. That's up there. That does look like that's ASAP Rocky. You understand what I'm saying? They're arguing that it's not a real gun. It was a pellet gun or whatever, blase. It probably was. Who knows, right? End of the day, the guy didn't pass away. He didn't pass on. I'm not entirely sure if because of the severed relationship, he feels as if this is the only way that he could make some money off the situation. ASAP Rocky, I don't know, man. It does look like it is one of those situations where it does look kind of crazy, but the fact still remains he didn't off the guy. Like, the guy is still here. He's still around. You understand what I'm saying? And he didn't get hit in an area where it's like this area is somewhere that could just, get rid of you, right? Not to say that it can't happen, but that's not something worse an attempt. It could be seen as that, but it doesn't really seem like an attempt to me. But just the very fact that you brandished it, the very fact that you fired it, especially in an area where it's like there's a lot of people that somebody could have got hit by it. But again, we don't even know what type of weapon that it was. We don't. You understand what I'm saying? We don't know exactly the weapon. It could be a cash grab. It could be a case where ASAP Rocky was just wrong for what it is that he did. Who knows? Right? I don't really know. Who knows?
you think he would get like up to 24 years in prison if he's convicted? Do you think it would be something on the lesser side? And he's weighing, look, if I get convicted, I know I'm not going to get that. I might as well roll the dice. I think I have a good shot at winning.
Sure. I don't think he would get 24 years in prison. That is the maximum stacked amount that he could get. It's probably for multiple years. And people always say, oh, this person's looking at 100 years in prison because he's got 4 first-degree felonies that are 30 years apiece, whatever. But that never happens. No judge ever says, okay, I'm going to consecutively sentence you to all these different things and stack them where it's 24 years. I've seen that maybe once in my career, which is almost 30 years. What I think would happen is, in California, I wouldn't doubt that he would get somewhere in the neighborhood of probably 3 to 5 years. Probably would be more appropriate. No one was injured. No one was hurt. If he takes the stand, that could be an aggravating circumstance. If the judge feels like he's lying on the stand, some judge that personally offensive, say, hey, you took the stand, you lied. It happens a lot in federal cases. You took the stand, you lied. I didn't believe you, and I'm giving you a tax for that. So there's a lot of things at play. My guess, if he was convicted, would be somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 years, somewhere that 4 or 5 years, I think.
And that's significant. We'll see if he actually takes the stand. And I want to play the opening statements. Before we even get to that, I have to get.
I was thinking that too. I wasn't like, to be honest with you, I'm not thinking he's not. I don't see ASAP doing 24 years for this situation. I think there's a whole lot of worse situations that have happened. Obviously, this doesn't look like it's like a civil case. This looks like it's an actual criminal case, like where people could actually go down for this situation. I don't know the other dude. I don't know if he was portraying this thug image or he was portraying like he was a thug or whatever it is. And he decided that, all right, cool, it hit the fan. And now he's taking his mans to court over a dispute or whatever it is, right? I don't know. I don't, if he's a regular citizen, he's well within his right to do whatever it is that he feels like he needs to do in that situation. Based on what it is that's being said, based on the evidence, I don't believe ASAP will be doing 24 years, right? We've seen rappers do a whole lot worse. We've heard of rappers doing a whole lot worse. This just seems like it was just a disagreement between two homies. You understand what I'm saying? Nobody was like really severely injured to the point where they can't, function like how they used to function and all of that sort of stuff. So it does seem as if it wasn't like the weapon didn't really pack a power, or either ASAP can't aim or something along those lines. But whatever it was, it really saved him. I don't see him doing 24 years for this situation. I don't. Moreover, they could afford the adequate lawyers that could really find certain, not to say loopholes, but to really sort of argue his case for him. So I don't see it being a 24-year situation. It could be a situation where it does cost him. I mean, nobody wants to lay down for any amount of time. You dig what I'm saying? But the fact still remains, it's one of those things where it's like, bro, you was on some machismo crap. It doesn't look like the other guy had a weapon. What made you feel like you needed to do that? So for me, I don't know, especially with ASAP Rocky. ASAP Rocky and I are probably around the same age. I'm not even entirely sure. Hold on, let me see. I believe so. No, ASAP Rocky's actually older than me by like 2 years. Either way, we're still like the same age group. You know what I mean? But ASAP Rocky was in a situation, him and his friend, they had a disagreement. I don't feel like when you and your friends have a disagreement, that's not grounds for you to pull out a weapon. You don't pull out a weapon against your friend that you grew up with. If you guys have a disagreement and you guys don't need to be around each other, bro, bygones be bygones. Bro, I don't rock with you no more. Stay where you at, bro. It is what it is, right? Ain't got to be no threatening, no nothing. ASAP Rocky, you got something to live for. I don't know how long before he was with Rihanna this situation happened. I don't know if this was before he had kids. I don't know. But you got something to live for. You got something to be around for. So when you do see those predicaments, you don't put yourself in those predicaments. Right? So I'm not going to sit up here and watch the whole video. You guys see precisely where it is that, you can go and watch it, right? It's right there, sidebar, right? With Jesse Weber. You guys can go ahead and watch it. ASAP Rocky trial kicks off with a fiery start. We didn't watch the whole video. We're not going to watch the whole video. You guys can go ahead and do it. I'm going to go ahead and hit him with a like. Because yeah, this was pretty. I'm not subscribed. I might be subscribed on my other. I might be subscribed on my personal YouTube page. So I don't think there's a need for me to subscribe on this. But you guys can go ahead and go and subscribe to his channel as well. He does put out content often. He does his thing over there. You understand what I'm saying? I don't necessarily always agree with everything that he's saying. But for the most part, he is he's informative, right? he does do his research. I'm not going to say everything that he says is accurate, but he does do his research before he comes out here and actually speaks about a situation. So that's the very least that I could say about that. But yeah, you know, I do appreciate everyone for tapping in. With the ASAP situation, you know, we spoke about ASAP Rocky, we spoke about Jay-Z, we spoke about Akademiks. I think my favorite part of what it is that we spoke about tonight was the Jay-Z situation. And kind of just deciphering that whole thing, right? Because it can't just be a witch hunt. I'm not going to just join a bandwagon just because everybody's against them. We're going to look at the evidence and what the evidence says. I don't care about what some of these independent YouTube pages are saying about this situation. When I look at the evidence for myself, what is it that I see? Right. And I don't know any new development or any developing things that happen, but I do know a lot of times when people see something and they take a stance and they decide they're going to make a video, I think people, for the most part, from what I've seen, people don't like to admit when they're wrong. Right. But for me, if I'm wrong about a situation, I don't have a problem admitting that. I'm not that egotistical where I'm just like, oh, yeah, you know, I'm just going to ride it till the wheels fall off. No. Well, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. In this case, I can't see beyond the evidence that she's speaking about. And when I compare that evidence to reality, it just doesn't really make sense to me. And when I look at the academic situation, the evidence is clear as day. It's creepy behavior. The behavior is creepy. The behavior is sad. The behavior is from a man-child who refuses to grow up. And this is precisely who we tell our children and our nieces and nephews and our sisters and brothers to stay away from online. These people are creepy. Right? So I don't care what type of content you make or any of that sort of stuff, or if I like your content and any of that. No. Leave them damn kids alone. Leave those kids alone. Right? I'm fortunate. Everything, regardless of any of my mother's flaws, my mother kept me away from the weirdos. Everything in her power to keep me away from some of those weirdos. You understand what I'm saying? When I did stay with my mom. Right? Initially, I mean, when I was a kid, there was an older girl that was, you know, that was a little bit older, but we were both kids at the time, where a situation did sort of happen, right? But when I was around my mom, she made sure that I didn't get exposed to any of those sorts of elements. You understand what I'm saying? So I do appreciate my mother for that. And I want to thank my mother for that. Right? But now when it's all said and done, I'm not oblivious to the fact that that kids are being exposed to certain things that adults should not be doing to kids. You should not be introducing children to that sort of thing. Right? But when we get to a point where we have adults that are saying things happen, and when we look at the evidence, it's like, even if I want to believe this, everything that's happening around this situation, it doesn't motivate me to actually take on your perspective. And I hope you understand that. And the consequences that we would want for somebody who does do these things to people, I think the people that are lying on these people should face consequences as well. Period. So these are allegations as of right now. We ain't gonna sit up here and convict him. ASAP Rocky situation, it's looking kind of rocky, but I don't think ASAP Rocky's gonna do 24. I think there is some amount of time that he's going to have to actually really do. I don't think the media dramatizing the situation based on what it is that we've heard so far Doesn't seem like it was a situation that endangered too many people. I'm not here to try to say ASAP Rocky was right in the situation. I don't think, based on what the video is saying, I don't think it's cool for you to be pulling out weapons against your friends unless your life is in danger. If you're protecting yourself, I don't have a problem with somebody protecting themselves. I have zero problem with people protecting themselves, but you got to be able to decipher between protecting yourself and having an ego trip. If you don't rock with your friend, all right, man, stay over there, bro. We don't have to coexist. Just don't come around, leave me alone, whatever it is. You got your security that deals with that. You're not in the streets no more. It ain't the streets no more. Once you leave the streets, don't go back. So all that ego trip, machismo bull, unless it comes down to you protecting those beautiful kids of yours or protecting yourself, bro, leave that alone, bro. Leave that alone, bro. You with Rihanna now, bro. You a billionaire now. You understand what I'm saying? You with a billionaire now. You're with a superstar now. You're a fashion icon now. You're a brand now. All that stuff that happened when you was on Harlem, when you was in the street, bro, leave that alone, bro. We adults now, bro. You understand what I'm saying? And if it ain't something where you protecting those kids or honoring those kids or doing what it is that you need to do from those kids, bro, I can't respect it, bro. I can't. You don't pull out a firearm on your mans, bro. Unless I gotta hear the details behind it, but looking at it just from plain sight, bro, that's just not. I can't understand that. Y'all got a disagreement? All right, cool, bro. I don't rock with you no more, bro. Or we're not talking. Once you pull out that firearm and you pop your mans, bro, it's like you can't undo that. You can't undo that. You understand what I'm saying? And it'd be very difficult for somebody to now shake your hand after that situation happens. And for you guys to really be as close as you once were again. That'd be very difficult at that point. Oh, crap. Hold on one second. I forgot to do something. My bad. Hold on. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm just remembering that I forgot to do something. I could potentially correct that situation tomorrow, though. Hold on. I could potentially correct the situation tomorrow. But yeah, y'all gotta be mindful of that, man. Whenever y'all do things, you understand what I'm saying? That's your friend. Y'all got y'all differences. Friends have differences at times. If I got a difference with my friends, bro, I'm not going around you, bro. I want to talk to you, bro. Don't call my phone, none of that sort of stuff, bro. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm not gonna hold you, bro. I try to be the best friend that I possibly can be to my friends, bro. But you see, when my friends start moving different, I start pulling back. I start keeping my distance. And I noticed that I'm not gonna be the one to reach out because I know I was genuine to you. And then people reach out, and sometimes I oblige. Other times it's like, yo, bro, I'm not even going back down that road anymore. Whatever it was that happened in the past, that's just what it is. The memories, they great, this, that, and the third, but it's time to move on from that. But once you get to the point where you decide that you're just gonna pull out on your friend, it's gonna be hard to really go back to what you guys were before. You know what I mean? So whether it was a real gun or a fake gun, ASAP, you wrong for that, bro. Even if it was a fake gun, because you looking at the situations like that's your friend. You understand what I'm saying? If it was a situation as serious as people is making it seem, or as serious as the situation seems, it's like, damn, bro, why would you want your friend to? Why would you insinuate that into your friend's psyche? I don't know, but I can't judge the situation without all the evidence and everything that happened in the situation. But that's an unfortunate situation all around. But anyway, I do appreciate each and every single one of you guys for tapping in. I'm looking at the time. This was 2 hours. This was a 2-hour stream. So least we could do is get some more likes. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you so much for tapping in. I do appreciate that. This was Cryptic Reasoning. And that's it, man. Y'all have a blessed day tomorrow. Y'all take care of yourselves. Take care of responsibilities. Big up yourselves and every single one of you. Right? We're gonna call it a stream. We're gonna call it a stream right now. Thank you so much. Thrifty Simplicity, I gotta big you up, sweetheart, because that lady, Thrifty Simplicity, she's really dedicated. She really helps out a lot with this channel. You know what I mean? She's the one that told me I had audio issues when I was having audio issues initially, so I had to stop the stream, start a different stream. I do appreciate that. What I'm drinking on is actually I was drinking on some Red Label wine in this Magnum bottle right here. I haven't, to be honest with you, before this month, the last time that I drank anything was 2022 in January. But yeah, this month I've had a few drinks. I probably drank like 3 times this month, right? But as long as you don't overindulge. But this was a really good stream. You know what I mean? I do appreciate each and every single one of you. So yeah, make sure you tap that like button. Make sure you check out the other content we got as well, right? We have so much other content as well. Make sure you guys are checking that out. And thank you so much for tapping in, each and every one of you. Be great. Appreciate you. Peace.